Well, there's a growing concern this morning not only about ISIS carrying out an attack on our soil, but about Americans who are aiding them. This Minnesota man, he was kicked out of his mosque for trying to recruit for ISIS. And a Massachusetts man, now on the FBI's most wanted list, he's the guy behind the ISIS social media campaign. With over 100 Americans reportedly fighting right now in Syria, it begs the question, where is the U.S. where in the U.S. is this terror activity happening? Here to discuss it is Managing Director at K2 Intelligence and former Director of the NYPD Intelligence Division, which is the best in the country by far, Mitch Silber. Mitch, thanks a lot for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So first of all, why is this happening? It's unimaginable you would leave the United States to go to a hellhole like Syria in the middle of a civil war and fight for lunatics. Why are they doing that?
Some of these people see this as a cause that they need to go and defend Muslims. When Bashar Assad was killing Sunnis in Syria, a lot of them felt that the West was not helping out. So these individuals felt like they had an obligation to go and defend their co-religionists in Syria, in Iraq. And they may have even gone for these altruistic reasons. But as the conflict evolved, they may have joined terrorist groups who were the best funded and had the best arms and got radicalized while they were there.
Huh. And some of these are native-born Americans, but a number of them are people who came to the United States as immigrants.
Yeah.
Is there any thought that maybe we should think closely about our immigration policies? We don't want to let in people who are going to end up joining ISIS?
You know, I think when you look at Minneapolis, which is a city that has seen, 3 suicide bombers, American suicide bombers in Somalia, and now, has individuals fighting in Syria, you've got a community there of Somali Americans that clearly isn't being integrated well into American society. So, these individuals were let in as refugees from all of the Somali civil wars. And the question is, why aren't they integrating into the United States, into the melting pot? And why are we having a situation that's more like Europe, where individuals from the Middle East don't seem to integrate within society?
Because asking people to integrate is not respecting their culture. It's not multicultural. You're supposed to just say, your culture is as wonderful as ours is. I mean, don't you think? We're not. I mean, are you even allowed to say you need to acculturate? You need to adopt our culture? You can't say that, can you?
Listen, our culture has enough merits on its own that individuals should see, this is why they came to the United States, for a sanctuary, to get out of Somalia. So the idea that a second generation would want to go back there is to some degree confusing, but I guess these individuals they haven't established that American identity yet.
So Minneapolis, you said, is a hotbed of potential recruits for ISIS. Where else in the United States?
Based on past activity of individuals who have been recruited to go abroad, to go to Pakistan and Somalia and Yemen, the New York City metropolitan area is always going to be one of those locations. Boston, and I know this morning we're talking about this individual from Boston who's potentially the chief English language propagandist for ISIS. And Boston, we don't have to think too far back to the Boston Marathon and the attacks there. So those New York, Boston, Minneapolis, also Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon has seen some individuals go and fight in Somalia, and you had a plot in 2010 to attack the Christmas tree lighting ceremony there by an individual of Somali descent.
So we're basically out of time, but make us all feel better by telling us that somebody somewhere, whether it's NYPD Intelligence or the FBI, is paying attention to potential recruits for ISIS, is watching these guys, sort of, no?
I think we're a little bit late to the game in the U.S. in focusing on this phenomena. Europe has been ringing the bell about the concern of individuals traveling there and potentially coming back. But now I think, with a few Americans having died in Syria and Iraq, with an individual, the first American who fought from Florida and was a suicide bomber in Syria, now you see this on people's radar. FBI.
I hope so. Well,
NYPD.
Thanks a lot. That was really interesting.